this episode here, what we're going to do is we're making real end table out of real whiskey bourbon barrels. And I already cut one. I'm going to go over how, on the next one, how I cut it. But I wanted to show everyone what one looks like. Now I got these barrels at a really good price. And they are certainly real bourbon whiskey barrels. And you can see I cut this one here, and I'm going to cut the door in half to make a double door. But you may see how black it is in there because they fire the barrels to get a charcoal flavor in them. It's oak. And like I said, these are real whiskey barrels. So I did scrape it out. I'm going to power wash them. And I did clean up the outside a little bit. It had a lot of the sugar syrup on the outside from when they dumped the bourbon out of them. I used a spray to get most of the gook off, and a little bit of a chisel and a draw knife but I'm going for the rustic look, so I might clean them up a little bit more. I didn't want the steel straps to be shiny or pure black, and I think I kind of like them the way they are right now. But I'm going to show you how I started to cut this door, and I do have glass for the top and so forth, and I'm going to do some LED lighting in them. I have a lazy Susan for the bottom. I'm going to do a shelf midway, a half shelf, and we're going to get these things looking pretty good. We're going to have some fun with them. So stay tuned here, and I'll show you how I cut the doors. Okay, so we're cutting the doors. You see on this one here, there's a hole in the barrel for the plug. So that's going to be the back where the wire comes out for the lighting. So what's important is that you find the center, which I've already done on this one. And I have a mark here. And you want to cut in the seam of what they call the staves. These slots are called staves, I believe. And then cut the door on another seam. Your doors may be different sizes from barrel to barrel by a ½ inch or an inch, but basically, you know, pick your center, measure over, and then find a seam. And what's important is that we put some screws in here to stabilize this strap. Now this strap can be beaten tighter up and down, which I've already done. But we need to put screws in them. You could see on this one here how I stabilized the straps before I cut them all the way around. You don't want them to move after, and even on the door, to hold the door together. And I'm probably gonna dot some black paint on those there screws. I use some self-tapping screws. I guess you could use whatever screws you like if you want to set them. Use some kind of pan head, a little bit more authentic, but it's important that you stabilize the strap. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do that with a simple screw gun and some self-tapping screws.
We've got the blues on the run. Sing, boom, torero.
Like I said, I had marked out where my door is, so I know the parameters of the width and the height of the door. The height is from strap to strap here, and the width, like I said, I had measured and marked out. So we're going to go ahead and put a screw on 2 screws on each side where I'm going to cut. To keep the strap in place so the barrel don't fall apart and the door doesn't fall apart. basically, it's 4 screws, 2 on each side, where you're going to cut. And then a couple in the middle. I suggest at least one on each side or slot. So stick our jigsaw back in here. Now, since you're cutting on the slot, in theory you might not need to really cut the wood so much because it'll pop out, but just to make sure we got it, and like I said, we're gonna plane them or sand them down a little bit. Use our sawzall with a metal cutting blade to cut through the band. Yep, there we go. And you can see all the char on the barrel. Inside the barrel, I have a little shovel and a scraper. We're going to scrape this out, and like I said, we're going to power wash it later. But that's the basic of cutting the barrel. We're going to clean up the edges. Probably want a 1/16 or an 1/8 inch gap all the way around so the doors work properly. And I'm going to scrape this out and we'll go from there. These things are charred, so they're a little gnarly, as you can see. And I'm going to scrape off the heavy stuff. Like I said, we're going to power wash them, and then I'm probably going to seal them, just so every time you go into the cabinet you don't get blackened. And should probably wear a dust mask while doing this. I got a little breeze here working in my favor. Scrape off the heavy stuff. Scrape out the heavy stuff, scoop it out, vacuum it out. A little bit of a nasty job, but
Good cheer. Now's the time to roll the barrel for the gang's all here.
We're back at these barrels here to wash them. We do a little power washing on them. But I picked these as the top. I thought the stamps are pretty cool. This one's a little bit more clear. Pour Something Distillery, Bourbon Whiskey. I don't know what the rest of the nomenclature stands for, but this one also has a CA on it. I know it's not for California, so this one has a KK. But we're gonna get the power washing. What do you think would take that stuff off? I mean, I tried a lot of different stuff. we're going to do the shelves, talk about that. I'll go over how I'm going to mount the glass, have it sit on there. And first I want to kind of just talk about where we've been, and then I'll do a little bit more about where we're going. So we cleaned up the barrels, we power washed them, put a light stain on the outside to even things out, got the look we were going for, coated them with a little bit of acrylic clear satin. Didn't want them too shiny or anything like that, just to be able to dust things off in the future. We don't want the dust sticking to them. And we cut the doors, of course. We have the doors here. We power washed the inside. Well, first we scraped it out, all the charcoal. We power washed it. And I did spray it with some kind of clear acrylic, just so any residual, when you're reaching in there, you know, you're not getting your hands black or whatever. You could use like a sanding sealer maybe, or, you know, maybe whatever you got. I don't think any of the canned directions on anything says, yeah, this is good over charred oak. So give something a shot. Again, I just wanted to kind of encapsulate it. I'm going to do is, I know some of you are going to holler because I've got some leftover pine here. Some are going to say, oh, you need to use white oak, and, you know, sorry, Bob Rossi. So what am I doing wrong? Bob, I can't tell him that. This is, I can't tell him to paint a happy tree here or there. This is not about that, Bob. This is about a little woodworking and some whiskey barrels. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Let's decide. Maybe there's a happy tree, evergreen tree. He lives right there. Start with just touching the canvas.
All right, I could do that. So yeah, you could put a little happy shelf anywhere you want, whatever size shelf, out of anything you want. They're your barrels. You put 2 shelves. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to use this pine up. And what I prefer to do, and I suggest you do, well, first, let me talk about this. The Lazy Susan for the bottom. Haha. Yeah, I absolutely cheated. Look at this. So we got these Lazy Susans. So I was walking through the shopping center looking for ice cream. And nice little wooden Lazy Susan on there. Metal ball bearings. It's pretty nice. $15. So each. So by the time I bought the Lazy Susan mechanism, the least expensive I could find is $4 or $5. And by the time I bought the wood and did the glue up and everything, yeah, $15. I cheated. Hooray for me. So if you want to use some thin wood or something, maybe steam it, or some kind of edge banding, if you wanted a lip on it, you know, you could put a lip on it if you're concerned about things falling off. But, you know, for me, I'm not too concerned about that. They actually fit in there really well. Got maybe an inch gap around it. So, yeah, like an inch gap. So these are perfect for $15 a piece. So, yeah, I'm not going to go screwing them in. What's nice about these wooden ones is with the wooden bottoms, I guess, even if you made them up, you could screw them directly from underneath into the bottom of these without trying to get bolts or holes into your Lazy Susan mechanism. If somebody don't know what they look like, I discovered I had an extra one. If I could, oh yeah. So this is a rather large one. This was left over from I guess some cabinets I made years ago. But you could see that you'd have to, you know, get screws from underneath or bolts or something. We don't need to do that. This one has wood. If I want to screw it in, I could screw it in just from underneath. But, you know, to be honest with you, I'm not even going to do that. I mean, I'm just going to use a non-slip piece of cloth, something like, you know, something that you line maybe your drawers with in the kitchen, some of that meshy stuff, because it's never going to go anywhere. You know, this thing is not doing 60 miles an RPMs in there, or 60 miles an hour. It's just not going to happen. I just don't see it happen. So, yeah, that's the way we're going to do that. Then, of course, if anything does fall on the side or you need to clean it, you take it out very easily. So I suggest making a template. And I got this piece of foam sitting around here that I'm using. You could use a piece of cardboard. And I suggest making a template for a couple of reasons. For one, the barrels are convex or concave, inside, outside. I guess it depends where you're looking at it. So you want to pick your height and where you're going to put the shelf, get a rough measurement, but the template's going to just help you put it in there and make sure that it's where you want it at the radius that you want it. And I'm going to put mine, I think, just above the bung hole in the back. Now, I'm only going to do a half shelf or like a 3/4 shelf. That's for me. You could put 5 shelves in there, remember? As Bob Rossi said, it's your happy little world. You could make as many shelves as you want. You could use pilasters if you want, or some people will wind up using metal L brackets. I'm not a big fan of that, but I'll talk to you about that. So, yeah, I don't see any reason to have a shelf sticking out here in your face when you open the door. Never going to put anything on there, you know, right there. So the other reason is, which I'll show you that stuff. I bought a light, and I just bought a puck, a single light, and having a 3/4 shelf is going to help that light get down to the bottom. Now, we'll talk about the lighting because there's lots of options that you could do. Yeah, so I think a template gets you a pretty long ways, and I definitely suggest doing that. And then what we're going to do, when we do cut the boards, the radius that's left over from the cutoff, we're going to cut those into strips on that radius, and we're going to use those for our brackets. I just think it's a little nicer to have the wood. It's here. It's easy to do. I'll pilot some holes in there, and I'll probably just stick a little construction adhesive on there just to give it a little love. I don't think wood glue would work. I don't know if any glue is necessarily going to work. Again, on the direction on all the adhesives and glues, I doubt that any of them said this is good for charred oak. So hopefully the construction adhesive helps out a little bit. They're going to be fixed shelves. I'm probably not going to staple them in or screw them in or what have you either. This way I could take them out again, dust them off, whatever need be. So that's just my style. Again, you could come up with multiple things, what you want to make them out of, how many you want to make, and so forth. So let me bring you a little closer here. I just want to maybe show you how I'm dealing with this radius here. Again, like I say a lot, there's always multiple ways of doing things. And yeah, one of the things that for me as a youngster, I'll say, that maybe bothered me a little bit. I grew up watching some woodworking shows I enjoyed. Who's the one guy?
Arm, a sharper mind, and a keener eye. You not only make beautiful things, you make a healthier planet and a healthier you.
Anyway, Norm Abrams was one of them. And, you know, he'd go over to some of his fancy machinery that he had. And yeah, I have some. now, but back then I didn't, and it just kind of, I love the guy and his work, but it just kind of annoyed me a little bit. I was like, well, I don't have that machine, you know. So you know, the saying goes, don't worry about the tools that you may not have, but use the ones that you do well. So again, there's multiple ways of doing things. So for me, with this radius, you could use a set of dividers. You got a pair, or a compass, you got a pair big enough. We could certainly use a router and a template and just cut it right out. Cut the wood right out, the shelf, everything. Not a lot of fun. I'm just gonna, once I make the template, I'm just gonna maybe use the bandsaw, or you could use a jigsaw, which maybe I'll just use the jigsaw. You could certainly use very inexpensive old school style coping saw. These cut pretty slick. Won't take you long at all. A little bit more elbow grease, but just again, you don't have a jigsaw or a bandsaw or what have you. You know, you could use this hand coping saw. You might have to cut in, cut around, cut in again, so you don't get yourself stuck in there. But in any event, multiple ways to make a radius. So for my purposes, you got fancy ruler jig, which I do. But I think we're going to work like the Egyptians might have, because maybe you don't have one. Walk like an Egyptian. So I just have a nail in the center. Of course, I just got the width of the radius, found the center. You can put a screw or a nail. I'm just going to put a nail in there for now. It's easy. Let it fall through my dog hole. We're just using a string like the Egyptians might have. So take a pencil, put it on your mark, wrap it around once. I have to pull a little bit. Get it a little tight. And just circle it around. No problem there. Just make sure you keep it taut. And you got it. So when you make the loop on the nail side or a screw side, just make a loop and tie a knot. Don't tie it tight to that, because maybe obvious to some, as you're going around, you know, you'll wind the string on it and you'll change your radius. So having said that, I'm gonna cut this out with a razor knife or scissor. That's my template. I'm gonna cut the wood. I'll show you some of that, and then we're in the finish line here. We're gonna hang the hardware for the doors, the light, the glass. Yeah, and then we're gonna put these downstairs living area down there, and yeah, yummy yum. So I'll show you some more of that stuff as we go along. But for now, that's where we're at. We're in the finish line. We're at the finish line. Continuing on with our very successful 3/4 shelf. Yeah, here they are. So I just put a little, basically you could use a couple dowels. I suggest not gluing them together, no matter what size you make them, because I kind of discovered if you did, if it was a full circle, that you probably won't get them in and out of there. It'd be a little tough. So that's what I did. I stained them, one coat of polyurethane, acrylic polyurethane. That's enough for me. If they were for a customer, I'd probably give them 3. So that's the other thing. I don't have any customers. Nobody pays me. Nobody sponsors me. That should be the theme of this channel. Nobody pays me. True. So if you missed a tidbit last time about making the wooden brackets, I said just, you know, use your cutoff. So here's the cutoff from the shelf, the radius. just use your finger guide here and go around like that, and then cut that out and pre-drill some holes, countersink them, so you don't split the wood. Of course, if your finger guide's not working correctly, you could use a compass. Just get yourself a score mark on there, or revert back to your trusty template. Like I said, you get a few miles out of that template. So what I'm going to do is, here's one of the brackets that, I made. Pre-drilled holes. So what I like to do, you have a screw gun head for a screw. I like to use these little collets on there, especially when you're inside there. Blind helps you out, so the screw's maybe not wobbling all around. Or you could kind of stick them in here at the bench a little bit, start them, and then get in there. And instead of measuring, I just made a one-time measurement, used a little bit of a story pole. Little trick there, so you're not in there fighting, looking for marks and all that stuff, and just kind of the bottom of the barrel and just kind of go around where I need them. And they're pretty random where I put them. So yeah, the nice thing about being able to remove this in the Lazy Susan is also these barrels become a little lighter. They're a little heavy. Let me see if I could swing you over here, kind of show you how I work on the barrels. Let's see if we could put you there. I don't know if I could get you in the barrel with me. It's hard getting in there. So the other thing you might have caught on earlier also is I just use, a little board. You could use 2 2x4s or whatever you have, just to keep, because I like to lay the barrel down so it's not wobbling. This will keep it from wobbling on you and so forth. So you can see I'm in my grody shop clothes. I apologize, but I refuse to ruin another pair of jeans, because that seems like that's all I do. Ruin jeans. Yeah, so without the shells being attached, it's kind of one of those lighten up Francis things. Lighten up Francis. Yeah, that's I guess one of my Gen X movies. So I got to do another one. Oh boy, they're a little interrupt this, but I got to watch what I say with all these phrases, I guess. All right, we'll do one more. Let it roll.
The name's Francis Sawyer. But everybody calls me Psycho. Any of you guys call me Francis, and I'll kill you. Ooh. Also, I don't like nobody touching me.
Lighten up, Francis.
So if I could get everybody in the barrel, kind of got that laid down there. You could see how I just screwed them in to hold my shelf up. Like I said, I just used a story pole back in there for the height, so I didn't have to keep measuring and fighting that one. Now, another little trick. Oops, sorry about that, everybody. Hang with me here. So another little trick. I like to work on these barrels this way, so I'm not on the ground on my knees or whatever. To hang the doors. Where are my doors? Oh, yeah. Like a regular cabinet or something, you might hang them vertically. You don't want to fight with these. You want to get them lined up. So what I do is I take some scrap wood and I take my nail gun. Probably want to use smaller pieces, and I'll just tack it with my nail gun around, and it'll help me hold up the doors so obviously they're not falling through or moving around. Wear safety glasses with that if you're going to do that. You don't want to shoot yourself in the face because you're shooting upwards or at yourself, kind of, in a way. Yeah, you don't want to shoot yourself in the face. I hate when that happens. So, yeah, this will go a long way for you. Maybe a couple shims, so you could, you know, maybe shim it here and there to keep your reveal and spacing nice and even. And then you're, you know, you're working like a human right here, hanging your hinges and so forth, your handles, whatever you need to do there. So let me bring you back around here. I just wanted to share with you kind of how I did that. Bring it back over here a little bit. I want to talk about hardware. Lots of options for that. And again, I was looking for the rustic look a little bit. Kind of a Western saloon feel kind of thing. I didn't want these things all glossy and pretty. So what I did, Amazon buy a couple things. I had gotten some leather handles. They're okay. I could have just used rope. I kind of thought about it afterwards, like a nice hemp rope or something could have kind of matched the hatch a little bit. And I don't like to talk about all the cost of things. It really doesn't really kind of matter to me too much. But of course, I didn't want $1 million barrels. I have to keep them kind of reasonable. But I know a lot of people might have a customer or client and, you know, they want to capture their costs or something, and they might be producing them for somebody or even yourself. You may want to know. So I did talk about some of that along the way, cost. Maybe I'll do a whiteboard up here and we'll go through the math. I mean, if I do future videos, I'm not going to keep talking about the cost of things. Maybe I'll do that. We'll call it like Johnny O's barrel fuzzy math, and I'll give you the numbers. Maybe we'll do that for those of you who are trying to maybe retail these things. But I don't know. I think I spent less than $100 on hardware with the light or something. So I was looking up strap hinges, cast iron hinges, online. Don't go to a hardware store and get the silver ones, please. Don't make them ugly. Even if you're going to paint them, I'm going to know, other people are going to know where you got them from. So, yeah, I guess no matter what you do, whatever kind of hinge you get, you're going to have to bend them. So, you know, you get those longer strap hinges. I don't know if any of you are familiar kind of what I'm talking about. But I was thinking that cast iron would look pretty cool on them. You know, they were a little expensive, $30 a piece. What do we got? 4 for each barrel. You know, yeah. So I was walking through outdoor flea market and I came across these here for 50 cents or $1 or something. I was like, yeah, that's for me. That's a good buy. And I thought they were pretty nice. You know, they're varnished brass, kind of matches the hatch again. But then I got to looking at them, and they weren't doing anything for me. They were kind of weak. So I took a little venture, and, you know, you're going to love me for this. I went and made hardwood maple hinges. Now, I realized that this here is not probably your first time DIYer type thing. This is a little bit more complicated. It takes a lot of patience, especially with getting the contour for the barrel. I did a little short video on how I did these, just quick. If you want to check that out, something you want to try to shoot and try, go ahead and check that out. I guess I'll leave a link for that But that's what I did. I just think that nothing was really doing it for me. These things gave it a little bit more character. They took some time. They had some challenges, for sure. So I got a cast iron, just a latchy thing, just a kind of latchy thing. I did get some magnets for the door, and I got some smaller magnets because I like to punish myself. Just get a big gnarly magnet, you know, for a door magnet or something, make your life easier so you don't have to hit it exact. Yeah, I want to, well, I could kind of do that now. But I do want to show you the lighting I do and the glass, you know. We're like I said, we're at the finish line here. But we'll cheat a little bit. And I'll show you one that's close to finish. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. So you can see wooden hinges, leather handles, and a cast iron type latchy. Okay, looking pretty cool, I think. I chose these varnished brass screws with a head on them here, so I didn't have to countersink them. We don't have a lot of meat on those hinges, to be honest. So yeah, let me just show you what I'm gonna do here with this for this glass, because there's a lot of options on that also. Again, I'm trying to match a certain look, and so some options would be, you know, you could get those little sticky velvet, not velvet, what do you call that? I don't know why I can't think of the name. You know, you could put those on there. You could get fancy stanchions for glass and screw them on there. I think it's a little too modern looking. Of course, you could just glue the rim, and you could put, I keep saying velvet. I don't know why. What's the word I'm looking for? You know, that powdered green stuff. Maybe don't use green. They make all different colors. Red, I would use like a tan color or something. But here's what I'm going to do, and I think that my engineering professor be a little proud of me on this one. So he always had a saying that you can't push a rope, and makes sense. You know, ropes are made to pull. They have tensile strength. Made to pull. But I think he'd be proud of me because I came up with another usage. Yes, sir. I am gonna lay this in here, and I'm gonna use some snot glue, hot glue. I did say snot glue because I'm used to calling it snot glue. And no, I'm not doing another side video on that one. Like I said, I gotta watch what I say. We don't need to do a snot video, do we? No, that wouldn't be good. And I think that's gonna look pretty cool around here. And it's gonna hold up that glass a little bit off of this edge a little bit. Glass on this raw metal might not be the best. So, got to size your rope. This is a nice natural type hemp rope, and maybe you could see it comes with a little bit of plastic around here to keep it together. So what's important, I would think, that when you go to cut it, wherever you're going to cut it, that you wrap some tape around it so it doesn't all fall apart on you. You'll get very frustrated. And you could always cut after you glue it, you know, maybe cut the tape off later. You don't want to see that. So another idea might be to dip it in wax, some hot wax for a little while, or some CA glue. I don't know. None of those I never tried. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to snot glue this thing down here to hold up our glass. And I think that's going to look pretty cool. Kind of the Western feel. So grab yourself a good hanging rope here, I guess you could call it, some tensile strength, but you're not using the tensile strength, obviously. And we'll just look at this guy. I think that was his affliction, was tensile strength from that rope. That's too bad, but well, things happen. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and do that, and we're just about over the finish line. Just bear with me a little bit more, and we're gonna do the whole product and the light, and light them up, and yeah, I'd like to show you the whole product. Maybe I'll do the whiteboard thing. I don't know if anybody's interested in that. Called Johnny O's Fuzzy Math, and we'll see what happens with that. Stay with me. As promised, simple puck light, plug and wire, LED, lots of choices for lights. They got these little multiple strings of lights you could drill in whatever you got to do. I think these are pretty bright. I haven't tested them, so I think it's going to be plenty. Like I said, we have a 3/4 inch shelf. Just unscrew that, and we're going to put it a little towards the front so it shines past the shelf a little bit. We have these Fandango little wire holders here, little plastic body and a nail, so we'll staple the wire up and around out the back of the bunghole. And then, again, I opted for something simple. I wanted a plug. I don't know, with a switch, just a switch. That's what I wanted. I don't know what everybody else wants to do. Like I said, there's many options. You want to go ahead and put Cat 5 wire, USB port in there, plug your charger, your phone charger in, go for it. I ain't doing it. Not for me. Not happening. Simplistic. Another simplicity brought to you by Johnny O. Now, no, I'm not doing it. Hopefully these zip in there pretty easy without destroying anything. Just got our center. Oh, that's a little strong there. They didn't come with screws, so I had to use my own. We'll tack that wire up. Get our latchy on there. Yupper. Gonna light them up. Gonna put the glass on, light them up. We have the glass here. We have a nice, almost a 1/4 inch piece of glass. This glass was given to me by a late friend of mine. May he rest in peace. But in anticipation of me doing these barrels, it actually fits pretty perfect. If I had bought the glass, maybe I would have did a little overhang. But it's a nice piece of tempered glass, and I suggest you get tempered glass as well. A little safer. Just to maybe get the juices flowing in one's brain. Another idea is what you may be able to do with these things. If you wanted to do a theme, like I said, I had a little Western saloon thing. You can put some things under the glass. Maybe what's known as the dead man's hand, aces and eights. You put some dice in there, maybe. Probably got to watch your height. Maybe some dominoes in there, and knife, old Zippo lighter. You get the idea. You know, maybe do a Gardner belt, pedal rose in one, Derringer, things like that. But I'm not going to do any of that. And I just want to give you some ideas of some things you could do, have fun. If you want to do a theme, I get a little tired of things quickly, so I don't know if I want to live with that forever. Remember, LED lights on. I'm going to turn the lights down a little bit, get the barrel ambiance. Just like that. Get a better feel for them. I think we're good. I think we're done. I really do. Walk you out here a little bit. And there's a little barrel ambiance there. And for me, these things were some work, especially in the beginning. So what I see sitting on these is maybe some large and in charge lamp posts that maybe I'll make. Got to turn them. I need a lathe. But for now, I think it's nappy time. That's what I'm thinking. The work is done. Oh, I can't believe I gotta buy another tool. I'll buy a lathe. It'll be fun though.
Roll out the barrel. We'll have a barrel of fun. Roll out the barrel. We've got the blues on the run. Sing, boom, Guerrero. Ring out the song of